that Gen Z people and millennial people should be automatically placed on the board of every major corporation, every major bank, every major organization, so that they can learn the ropes when they're 15, 16, 17, 19, and 20, 21, so that when they get out into the workforce, they'll know what the older generation knows. I think that what we're talking here is about is not as us versus you. We have to come to some sort of cooperation where the older generation, the young generation work together. It's not like us against them. It's like you don't talk to anybody who's over 30. When I grew up in the 70s and 80s, the saying was, I don't trust anybody over 30. Right? I'm a baby boomer and you're a Gen Z. And if you say now, I'm not going to talk to the older people because they don't know how to use digital banking, well, then there's no cooperation. There's no symbiosis. There's no working together. What do you think about we co-opting millennials and Gen Z people onto the boards of all major organizations in this country so that we start working together and start coming up with solutions to these problems? What do you think?
Yeah, and I mean, that would be great. And like you said, yeah, I'm sure there are 20-year-olds that work in the judicial branch, and I'm sure there are 20-year-olds that work in the executive branch. And, but the things are still happening. The issues that should be solved by, these 20-year-olds and, my generation and the millennials moving into office and into power. Yes, sure. That will fix the problem, right? But the problem still exists. The issues still happen. The truth of the matter is that no matter who's in charge of the government, it's still the same government, and the government isn't changing and nothing's changing. We're still having the same issues, and those issues are only getting worse. It's whatever the solution is, it's not what we're doing right now, because it's nothing's changing. Nothing's changing positively, and the problems still exist. There's things that are not changing. There's negative things that are not changing to the positive, and there are positive things who are shifting into the negative that are not, that these solutions that should be in practice that we're saying, oh, just do this and it'll work. It's not. They're not working. And I think some of that in like we've been saying, like I said, oh, if we just did this would happen and it would be great. That wouldn't happen. That probably wouldn't fix anything, because the first roadblock is one, making it actually happen, because the wealthy people don't want to give up being wealthy. They don't want it. The society works great for them. Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, the world is great for them. This is a great society. They love our society because they're multi-billionaires. You know what I mean? So the first roadblock is making the change happen. The second roadblock is it actually doing anything, because there's a very large chance that it just does nothing. It does very little. It doesn't actually accomplish anything. And, there's the downside of speaking in extremes is that, yeah, it's very easy to discount an extreme, right? Oh, everything sucks. Well, no, there's lots of great things about our world, but speaking in extremes or not speaking in extremes, speaking in exact examples, the issues still persist. The issues are still there. And even though, the solutions that you mentioned could be put in place and somewhat are being put in place, like the younger people working in the president's cabinet and things like that, the issues still exist, and those things aren't solving those issues, which means there's a deeper issue somewhere. And if no solution works, then it's probably not the solutions. Either the solutions aren't being put in properly. If you try 100 solutions and none of them work, it's not the solutions. The 101st solution isn't going to work. The 102nd solution isn't going to be the big end all be all. There's something. Whoever's coming up with the solutions could be doing something wrong, right? The person that's coming up with the solutions could be the problem. Whoever's enacting the solutions and making the solutions a reality, there could be the problem. The people who are in charge of taking that enacted solution and making it reality, the people who are actually involved in the solution. Okay, instead of you doing that, you do that and you do that. Okay, there's your solution. Okay, well, if those people don't actually do that, then nothing changes. And I think that's where the problem lays, is that we can have a president that goes, oh yeah, I'm going to fix all these things, and then gets into office and doesn't fix any of them, whether that president is 70, 30, or 4. If they say they're going to do something and they just don't do anything, the problem's still going to persist. And I think that's where the issue lays. The solutions themselves aren't the issue.
So I think that coming back to our original question about what is the purpose of life, I think we modified that question to say, what is the purpose of society? And you've said that the purpose of society is that everybody can get to live with food, healthcare, medical protection, police protection, live without danger, without threat of life, to live, that they can take care of their family, have a reasonably healthy family life without kind of threat that I don't have enough money to eat food, and that the menial laborers are happy with their lives because they don't have to fight or hurt anybody to get paid or get money, and the higher echelon of the educated or the people who are running the businesses, they can make sure that that everybody is, as your modified capitalism, that everybody has enough to eat, and that everyone has an enjoyable life and a life that is meaningful. So for that to happen, we have to put that purpose on the table. And the reason why nothing is happening and nothing is changing is because we haven't addressed the purpose. We haven't stated, this is the purpose of society. If we state that purpose and say, now let's put our heads together, the Gen Z and the older generation, and let's sit down and let's have task forces across the country saying, let's have hearings, discussions, meetings. How can we make sure that everybody has what they need? I'm sure we can come up with solutions, but as you say, the system is repeating itself without addressing the purpose. And we have to come back to basics of, if whenever you start a new project, you say in an MBA project, you have to say objective, methodology, materials, resources. The first question in an MBA project is what's the objective? Can we go back to telling society, telling the president, telling Congress, telling the Senate, telling all the corporations, let's promote the idea that there has to be a purpose. Let's come up with an objective that we all going to work toward. Let's hold hearings across the country with Gen Z and with baby boomers. Let's come up with solutions instead of fighting with each other, the right wing against the left wing, right extremism and left extremism, Black Lives Matter and Antifa, Proud Boys against the left. Let's come up with a solution where we all can live with. What do you think of that idea?
I think that would be perfect. But the issue with that is that you said, oh, let's get all these task forces and start having these meetings to come up with the solutions. You already stated a solution. Your first solution, your first step in that solution was coming up with the task forces and having the meetings. And so the first issue we encounter is making that happen. Right? Okay, let's form a task force. Well, we started to form a task force and then all the funding disappeared. We ran out of funding. Sorry. After we got all the catering, all the funding disappeared. Okay, well, now the task forces are abandoned. Oh, we tried to have a meeting, but half of the important people didn't show up. Okay, well, now we had a meeting that didn't have all the right people. So now that the solutions that came out of that meeting, if any, are going to be flawed. So it wasn't the solution that was the issue. It was the process in creating the solution. And it was the solution that was flawed was the solution for creating the process to come up with the solutions.
Okay, so what about if you bring 10 of your friends, intelligent friends, well-meaning friends, broad-meaning people like yourself who want to see change in society? I'll bring 10 of my friends. Let's sit down with 20 people. Let's come up with a plan, and then let's have a press conference, and let's have a meeting, and let's present it to the media saying, here is Gen Z and the baby boomers sitting down together, 20 people, and they propose the following purpose of society and a solution of how, and a solution as to how we're going to go about coming up with practical hands-on strategies to bring about that purpose of society. What do you say?
Well, I think the issue why that wouldn't do anything is exactly what you said earlier. There's no incentive. What's the incentive for the people in power to listen to us? Are we going to make them more money? Are we going to give them more power? If not, then there's no reason for them to listen to us. You know, in that scenario, them listening to us doesn't isn't good for them. That's the opposite of what they want, because they have no reason, they have no incentive to listen to us. And sure, if we did that, would we get media attention? Would some things change? Maybe, yeah. But in actuality, nothing big major would change, and anything that would change would probably be reverted, because in the society and the civilization that we've created, is anything that, smart people like you and I see as positive is actually seen as the negative to the people who are actually in power. Because anything good, anything positive is the opposite of the agenda that these people, and agenda is a strong word because it's very, agenda is a lot of time used in scenarios where it's like, oh, there's a secret agenda, oh, the LGBTQ agenda. I mean agenda in the sense that, like, people want money and they want power. Those are the two things that people want in life, right? How you get them defines where you get them, and how you get them defines whether you're a quote unquote good person or a quote unquote bad person. But the agenda for these people that are in power and in the government is to make money for themselves and get power for themselves. And then secondary agenda to that is get money for the country and make money for the country. And if what we suggest and what we come up with doesn't align with those beliefs, then they have no reason to listen to us, and they just won't. There's no incentive.
That might be the case, but I would give them a little more credit than you are.